So what all the religions teach you is, the basic thing which they teach you is what you do to others is what you get in response. This is exactly the case of international students. How Canada has treated international students, how they have exploited it. Now they are getting exploited exactly in return, right? So this video is not going to be liked by either Canadians or by international students, but it is important to go through it, and it is important to see how government has not done well for international students and also for the Canadians. And neither Canadians are responsible for that, neither are international students. It's the government's policies, the current government's policies. So let me share my screen and show you how all of this mess started and all, right? So this is CBC's article, right? Pro-government news channel. So you see Canada's international student spike was blamed on private colleges. Here's what really happened. So they show a bunch of stats, right? So here they show that in year 2023, how many number of permits were issued. And let's see the increase of number of permits here, right? So below they show some charts, right? Contestua College. So here they show that in year 2018, so they have like close to 6,000. And in 2023, the study permits were 30,000. So is it that the infrastructure was multiplied by 5 times? Is it that they created like 5 new buildings and all? Not at all, right? With zero new infrastructure or maybe a minimal new infrastructure, the permits was increased 5 times, right? 5 times. Similarly, University Canada West, what was it's 839, and what is then after that? 14,000. Maybe around 16 times, right? 16 times you're increasing the capacity by 16 times. I'm not sure whether they're investing anything at all into the infrastructure. Again, Algoma University, not heard of the name also, but see, again, like in this case also, you see around 10 times, right? Oh, not even 10 times. It was 215 like study permits that were issued earlier. And now it is close to 10, like 50 times is the number of increase, 50 times increase. Fanshawe College, right? This is 4,000. It's nice college in London, but still even they have increased the study permits by like thrice, around thrice, right? So if you see every college here, right, you see how the number of study permits has increased. Is it new infrastructure was provided to the students? For sure not. Let's look at other article, right? So there's an article which was covered like a couple of days ago, right? It says 31K Fanshawe College EV Tech program as a cash grab. And a London mother, she's complaining that like they have to pay this much fee for 2 years of the course. And earlier, so for national students, it was supposed to be like 12,000, but they apply the international student fee, which is 31,000. So international students, like who come from poor countries, they are paying 3 times the fee. And if you've seen, the permits have increased 5 to 10 to 50 times also, right? So with zero increase in infrastructure, with zero, like, so if you increase something by 50 times or 5 times and all, you can see the quality deteriorates, right? So so there was no focus on teaching at all, right? So it was a cash grab for the Canadian government to grab this much cash from the international students and issue them 5 times the permits to 50 times the permits and all, right? So this is how international students have been exploited. And I'll tell you the reality since I migrated from India. Canada is the best country for immigrants. It is still the best country. For a few years, it will definitely remain the best country, right? I am very happy moving to Canada, but it is also true the quality of life has gone down. And that's why it is important to speak the truth also. It is important to show the real face of the government, how they have done bad things for international students. And that is in return, that is costing a lot for the Canadians also now, right? So let's go through like what are the bad things, right? So like basically Canada, right? So what are the pros of issuing these much permits, right? Artificially inflating the GDP. And here, like both the governments are responsible. It's liberal and conservative also, right? So on the center, you have liberal government who's issuing all of these study permits and all, study visas. And then you have Ontario government, which do not have any like oversight of what is happening in Ontario. So almost all the colleges were in Ontario, right? So that's why you don't see this issue being talked about at all, because both the government, the liberal and the conservative, were aware of this, right? And have not done anything and have not highlighted this in parliament also, because both the governments are responsible for it. But this is the truth, right? So this artificially inflates the GDP because that much money is coming in from international students. And again, when international students come, I've seen many of the students, their families spend like their entire life savings to send their kids to developed countries, just thinking that at least they will have a better future. Once they have a better future, once they settle down, maybe they learn something and they can support them back, right? So they send like the entire life saving. Most of the time they would be selling their houses, their homes, they will be selling their lands and all to send their students. And a lot of the times these parents are illiterate, and they are a lot of time they are being frauded by the agents also. So on top of this high fee, agents might be charging 50% more fee, right, which they'll keep with them. So you can see the amount of corruption that is there in the system, which government, the corruption which officially government is doing, which you have seen by all those number of permit increases and all, and with the high fee, right? And you can see how what is exactly is going on for the international students, right? Because they're paying so much high fee, and the quality of studies which they get is zero quality of studies. So artificial GDP inflation is there, which is good for Canada. At least it shows that like the GDP is growing. Actually, it was shrinking. We saw everybody was having tough time in the last 5 years, right? But why isn't that we saw any recession at all? It is because the numbers are artificially inflated. You can't rely on the economists or the governments and all, which are artificially showing these numbers and all. We all knew that there are no new businesses that are being developed. There is no new services or no new products that are being developed in Canada, which we ship outside, right, from where the money should come into the Canada. But this was artificially pumping of GDP and all, right? So university had more fees because they were bringing a lot of fees, and some of that fees were definitely used to pay for the national students also, right? So national students did benefit from that. This was the only pro which I see from this program. And the cons, because all of these students, they first initially work all on the basic jobs, right? And you have seen now it is so difficult to get a basic job in Canada, right? Especially go to GTA. It is so tough. Like I've seen people like struggling to find any type of a basic job these days, right? It is equally tough for international students. They are paying, they're working far below the the lowest wage, right? Just because they want to meet the ends and all. And Canadians also, like they are not able to sustain themselves at all, right? So by bringing in these many students, there is no quality check. There is no check on the vetting and all. The government was just issuing study permits and all without any quality check. There is zero quality check that is done by Canadian government at this time. So since you're bringing in so many students and all, you're putting a lot of pressure on the resources also, right? So this is cons. Culture, any organization, if you learned any organization, any company that grows a lot in a very short time, their culture deteriorates, right? Same happens with any country. Again, it is not against any other country from where the people are coming. It is just the truth, right? Again, as I said, this video will not be liked by Canadians or by international students. But anyways, this is the truth, what it is. So let's take the case of international students. What are the pros for them? So they get the opportunity to settle down in a developed country, right? So Canada has more opportunities as compared to many other developing or underdeveloped countries, right? So they think that like parents think that their children would be struggling there and they don't have nice jobs and all. So spend the entire life saving now and send them abroad where they could study and they could settle down. And now they don't know how exactly they have been frauded, right? Like if you see these numbers and all, it'll be very difficult for all of these students to settle down in Canada because Canada would be cutting down on immigration. Now, what happens to these international students? What happens to the parents of these international students who who have spent their entire life savings, right? So many students will become illegal residents. For sure, this will happen, right? Again, it is important to speak the truth. it is important to show what the government has done. So a lot of these residents will become illegal. A lot of these students will in next 3 to 4 years will become illegal residents, because now if I am like, if my parents spend all of their money to send me to Canada, can I say that I didn't settle down in Canada and you don't have any money now, right? And what is the face if I have to go back to my country, what is the face that I'll show to them, right? This is what these international students will be going through, right? And I've seen a lot of the international students, they're going through depression at this time, right? So next is like they can show the face and all, right? After this, so after burning their entire life savings, so it is a very it'll be so international student will be in a miserable situation, and we have seen the same misery which has been now showing up for Canadians also. And why exactly it is? Because the government didn't want to show they're going through recession and all. All they wanted to do was artificially pump the numbers, and have shown, right? So these numbers, it's not that it's not visible to anyone, right? So anybody can see these numbers. These are visible to both, right? Like conservatives and liberals. Liberal government is at the center, is at the federal level, and then conservative government is on Ontario level, right? So if you see all of these colleges and all, they all belonged to Ontario. This was wide, like this, everybody knew that, but nobody wanted to solve it. So anyways, do like my video. I'm sure you won't like this video, but try to share it if you feel this is the truth, and this is should be shared with others and all. I just want to have like this is a hard conversation to have, but I just want to have a true conversation. But definitely the intent is good. The intent is so that the international students which we bring in, we bring quality students, not treat them as a business, treat them as an investment, try to subsidize their education, try to bring the best quality students and all, because they will be adding a lot to Canada. They'll be creating further 4 or 5 jobs, right? If you bring in zero quality students, first of all, you might be inflating a bit, but then instead of adding 4 or 5 jobs, they would be taking away the basic jobs, which are for Canadians there, right? And they might be like, they would be degrading the culture also, right? So it is very important we treat these international students as investments and not as business.